Good morning. Welcome to the trade setup right here on BQ Prime. I'm Neeraj Shah, and the going seems to be slightly better than what initially would have been believed. First, let's take stock of the global news flow, then we come to the markets. Jerome Powell says no decision made on speeding up pace of rate hikes. This was day two of his testimony, and well, clearly, whether the rate hikes get sped up and whether there is a 50 basis points or a series of that remains to be seen. Germany might ban Huawei from parts of 5G mobile network so that thing around Chinese companies continues, I must say. Apple, for its part, is reshuffling management of its international businesses to put a bigger focus on India. Doesn't surprise. They had amongst the best quarters, last one gone by, when it comes to the India revenues. Indian government 10-year bond yield closed at 7.46, highest level in 3.5 months. So back home, we're seeing yields move up, even as in the US too. Yields hover around that 4% mark. Now, did all of this have an impact? Well, the US markets were, you could argue that they were flattish, right? I mean, NASDAQ may have been 0.4%, but otherwise it was a flattish move. And I doubt that the other indicators moved too much. They've done the bit in the recent past, and therefore the dollar index at 105 half, or the 10-year yield at around 4, or the VIX at about 19 doesn't really move too much. And the SGX Nifty is not moving too much either. It's a flattish start anticipated uh, as per the SGX Nifty. So what does this mean from a market's perspective? Well, you have to argue that from an Indian market's perspective, the third consecutive positive close for Indian markets augurs well. Also keeping in mind that the initial dip got bought into in India yesterday. I don't think too many people anticipated the dip to get bought into. I remember talking about it on trade setup that declines will be bought into, but frankly, didn't anticipate it would happen yesterday and we would have the close the way we did yesterday. So it was pretty remarkable, the strength in the Indian markets yesterday. And it was not just the large caps, by the way. The mid-cap 100 broke past its recent swing high, which is also a big positive. And therefore, so then yesterday's market action intrigued me, which is why I spoke to a bunch of dealers, and they said that according to them, and the deal and the rather the flows or the orders around them, as per the yesterday's session, mid-cap, cap good names and defense stocks are the likely ones to continue to see buying. So watch out for these pockets. FI has bought about 3,671 crores. DI has sold about 937 crores. That's par for the course. Now, two stocks in focus to start off the stocks to watch picture with. One of them is Gokaldas Exports. The other one is Data Patterns. Now, in Gokaldas Exports, viewers, apparently Clear Wealth Consultancy is likely to sell about 8.25% stake at about 390 rupees per share, which is and amounts to about 4.3% discount to yesterday's closing. Now remember, Clear Wealth held about 20.56% stake at the end of quarter 3, and the belief is that the 8.25% stake today will come in from that company. Now you would argue as to why is it that this is indeed happening. Uh, uh, they, they, you classified as promoter, if you will, but holding only 20% stake. So clearly they are now exiting the business. Some would argue that it is also coming in from a perspective of they wanting to get more institutional investors. I doubt that's the case really. This is the clear case of exit from Gokaldas Exports, so to say. Uh, Bought it much earlier, selling it at a hefty profit. So no surprise. Pretty much private equity action, if you will. Data Patterns is the other one on which there is a QIP likely today. Last closing price was 1293. The indicative issue price is 1220, which is about a 5.7% discount to the last closing price. So therefore, both of these stocks, viewers, will start off lower in the session today. Gokaldas between 3 to 4%, Data Patterns between 3 to 5%. That's the kind of discount that you would might see on open into both of those names. So watch out for these. Remember, fundamentally, textiles, uh, maybe when the global demand comes back, these companies will be the ones which will be placed the best to improve. We spoke to one of the companies recently as well, and the belief is that selectively some of these might continue to do well relative to the rest of the world as well. So let's wait and watch. Mm. The next set of stocks, the Adani Group stocks, for more reasons than one. I want to put up, okay, let's put up the stocks to watch first, which is the action that was taken yesterday by NSE to put three Adani Group companies under short-term ASM framework, Enterprises, Power, excuse me, and Adani Wilmar. Now, this should be construed negatively for these stocks. So maybe there is a bit of a short-term pricing action on the negative side for all three names. But what happened yesterday is also was interesting. As per Bloomberg, Rajiv Jain has said that his US-based fund GQG will likely increase stakes in Adani firms over time, and that the Adani family has now prepaid all borrowings backed by company shares, as per senior executives telling investors at a meeting in London. This is as per Bloomberg, of course. So there is positive news flow and negative news flow for the group stocks. I would reckon that the ASM framework would hold more impact or weightage on her impact today. So you might see maybe some action in each of these three names, which is Enterprises, Power, and Wilmer, in the session today. Standard disclaimer: the Adani Group is in the process of acquiring 49% stake in Quintillion Business Media, which is the owner of BQ Prime. Then Bharat Forge, it started its first e-bike manufacturing facility. The facility has a production capacity of 60,000 units per annum and scalable to 1 lakh units per annum. Maybe Bharat Forge comes in focus for this reason. Stocks which are trading at 1 year lows, and it's diverse because there is consumption, there is NBFC, and there is pharma, all three pockets which people don't want to touch with a barge pole currently. So that's the interesting one. And it might be said that some of these stocks might continue to stay subdued even if they don't stay at 1 year lows. Insurance was also a pocket that was largely not touched, but the WRP growth yesterday, this came in during market hours, viewers remember that. But the reason I bring it up again is that brokerages have sounded constructive or non-constructive exactly on the lines of what this data is, and therefore watch out for HDFC Life in the session today. Jefferies has an interesting note on mid caps. They say that IMD is forecasted a strong summer with above normal temperatures in many parts of India. Not surprisingly, seeing that in Mumbai as well, and I'm sure we're seeing that in other cities too. Jefferies says that key sectors benefiting from a good summer are fans, ACs, refrigerators, pipes, air coolers, and pumps. They foresee Crompton, which is a leader in fans and residential pumps, or Havells, which is the Lloyd AC brand, or V-Guard, which is stabilizers and fans, Amber, which is it benefits from AC volumes, and Finolex Pipes, which is the agri pipes leader, and SI, which is a diversified mix, Supreme Industries, as the key beneficiaries. They expect average 14% YOY sales growth and 110 basis points QOQ operating profit margin rise for these companies. So do watch out for some of these. Could be interesting names to monitor in the session today. I tell you, I think the note also says that they force SI is amongst the top picks, but in view of the stretch valuations and continued margin weakness, they retain the hold on Havells and Whirlpool as well as Astral. They say Astral's volume growth, 9-month volume growth of 20% lags that of Supreme at 35%. So SI is their top idea, is what Jefferies has said in this note on mid caps today. So, well, these are a few names that you should be monitoring in the session today. Watch out, like I said, for Gokul Das as well as data patterns. Clearly, on the back of the news flow, they remain the top two draws for this morning. Thanks so much for tuning into today's trade setup. Have a great day ahead, and see you with some of the market shows during the course of the day. Dinshaw Irani of Helios Capital would be speaking to us today. So interesting to see what they believe is in store in the near term.